everybody. How are you doing today? Hope your day is going good. Hope the weather's cooperating and to your satisfaction. Some people getting rain, some people getting snow, some people getting sunshine. So, whatever's going on, just make the best use of your time. This is the day the Lord has made, and rejoice and be glad in it. Be thankful that God has given you another opportunity to do something for Him. And that's what our focus has been on for quite a while now. What can I do to be better servant of God? And so that's why we continue these lessons. We want to encourage everyone to be faithful to God to the best of their ability. And sometimes you just need that little oomph, just that little nudge to get you headed in the right direction. So I hope these lessons are able to do that for you. Today, the title of the lesson is Lasting Relationships. And as we go through life, we find that some relationships last and some fail. And one of the most important factors in keeping a relationship going is having something in common. And that's usually some type of agreement that we make, something that maybe what we have in common is goals. And so we're going to talk about those things. And so there's many types of relationships that we go through during life. I mean, let's face it, if you get in an elevator and somebody else gets on with you, there's a semi-relationship there. You both have a goal that and a hope that the power doesn't go out and you get locked in there. That's for sure. But you have a destination to reach, and so that's why you're going. So that's what you share in common. I mean, those people sitting in a waiting room at the doctor's office, they're waiting to see the doctor. So there's a kind of relationship there. And so, but it's usually doesn't really mean a lot. But I do want to talk about relationships that mean a lot. See, we can talk about the family relationship. And this relationship stands as a foundation for all other relationships. And the entire structure of most nations and most cultures is based upon the family unit. And so the cohesiveness of the unit during adversity and the support from other members of the family make this a very strong relationship. Now, sadly, in our society, some do not revere or respect the family relationship. In fact, they just want to destroy it altogether. And so they become loners, and oftentimes they do not fit into society. As a result, they become outcasts or criminals. So much is learned by the members of the family, which should prepare them for life apart from the family. And get this done before they start their own families. And so, yes, this is the education of the children, and the best thing to do is train them about God. Teach them about God so that they'll keep that in mind when they're doing things and when they start getting out on their own. Teach them about God. And so that is so very important. See, we also have a relationship in the business world. Now, whether you're an employer or an employee, there's a relationship. And of course, the only way this relationship is going to work is you have agreed upon standards or guidelines and keep yourselves accountable to those actions. And so those who apply themselves with the common goal of the business become good employees. And these are the type of people an employer wants to work with and even help them. But those who are in business only for the money are not really valuable because they really don't care about the business. And so they won't survive very long in that business. So once again, we see a common factor is necessary to keep a good relationship. Now, in our communities, we find that we still have relationships. But these are a lot weaker than all other relationships. Just because you live in a house, your neighbor lives in a house, okay, your relationship as neighbors doesn't mean you talk to them or speak to them or even say hi to them. I mean, but there is a relationship there. While we are in a local area, the goals of each one are general at the most. And sure, we would appreciate if all the community would look out for their neighbors, keep them and protect them, and if see somebody suspicious, to call the police. And so it's helpful if you get everyone to share the common goals of the community. Maybe you want the neighborhood to look nice. Usually there's some sort of association that really concentrate upon this factor. So they expect people to keep their yards nice and trimmed and looking nice because that improves home values when that happens. Um, so we want to keep it clean and we want a safe neighborhood. So we work alongside the police and the authorities to see that things are safe. And we work together for the common good of all in that community. And so that's what we do as citizens of our local communities, our neighborhoods, our cities, our states, and our nation. We all have a common goal that we want everybody to be able to enjoy, just like the Constitution of the United States says, to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I mean, these are all goals we should have for everybody. But we've talked about different relationships, but let's talk about the most important one. Spiritually, we have a few relationships we must consider. See, foremost is our relationship to God. And we must recognize that this relationship is maintained and kept intact, not by compromising, but by agreeing to a set of standards given by God. We read in Malachi 3 and verse 6, God does not change. And really, God does not compromise. See, God does not make a deal with anyone other than on his terms. You know, off the top of my head, I really do not remember any covenant that man initiated with God. Everywhere a covenant is made, God is the one who always set the terms, and it was man who had to agree to those terms. And so this relationship is based upon submission to God and is also supported by a trust in God. We want to trust God because the Bible tells us that God's made some promises to us, that if we will just trust him, he will bless us. And so it's not hard to understand. So when you turn your back on God, your blessings are removed. And so that's why he says the way of the transgressor is hard in the book of Proverbs. It is hard. And so God made promises, and God has a very good record of keeping his promises. And such promises are recorded in the pages of the Bible. Now, we also have a relationship with others who share our common faith. Our agreement to work together is based upon criteria of obedience and subjection to the will of God. And so that's what we need to do. And those who do not choose to obey God cannot and will not be involved in this fellowship, in this relationship. This relationship is established upon each member's involvement with their relationship with God. And so if anyone walks disorderly or teaches error, they cannot be a part, they should not be a part of this relationship. We have a responsibility as a congregation of the Lord's people to make sure error and things stay away. And so 2 John 9 through 11 tells us this and warns us to cease any relationship that is not approved by God. We must be careful to build and keep a relationship with God, but we must be diligent to avoid a relationship with the world. So yes, we have this relationship. We can have a relationship with Jesus on God's terms. A lot of people want to have some sort of personal relationship, but they don't follow the terms that God set forth. And so that is very important to have a relationship. You've got to be a part, and you have to be involved in this. So avoid the relationships of the world. Find your relationships with other Christians who have the same belief as you, who have a common salvation that we're looking and working towards. You know, Paul told the Corinthians to be of the same mind and have the same thoughts. He said the same thing to the Philippians in chapter 2. You've got to be having the same minds and same thoughts, same goals, and same purpose. And so once we come to an agreed upon goals and purpose, then we can work together. But until you establish what those goals are, until you establish what those guidelines are going to be, you really have a very weak relationship. But once you establish your foundational goals and purposes, then you can work together to make those things happen. And that's what we do with God. God's working with us. He's given us his terms. All we have to do is obey them and keep them, and then he's happy to call us his children when we are obedient to him. But if we choose not to do those things God has told us to do, we don't have a relationship with God. And so the retribution that Jesus talks about is going to come upon those who know not God and keep not his commandments. You know, 2 Thessalonians 1, 6 through 9 tells us that. So, consider your relationships. Make sure they're based upon a solid, strong foundation with goals and purpose. That's the problem with a lot of marriages. The only purpose a lot of people get married is just to have their sex. But a few years later, all of a sudden, they haven't discussed their goals or their plans, and they just want to go their separate ways. So to avoid that, make your plans first of all. God is going to be first in this relationship. His word is going to direct us. And when both parties can agree to that, then it's going to be successful. So consider these thoughts. Very simple lesson, but one that needs to be said. And Lord willing, we'll be back tomorrow with another lesson. Share this message with others. Think about this lesson and do what you can for God. You can do something. I mean, anything. Get on a video, just put a Bible scripture in your Facebook and post it for all your friends to see. And you never know that you might be able to be spreading some seed that will take hold and lead others to Christ. So consider those things, and Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.